America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. By the way, that World Series is one of the best World Series I have ever seen. Ever. But that's neither here nor there, is it, America? You know, I've been talking to you a lot about this fusion of Marxism and Islamism. Well, there is a piece at Fox News by Azra Nomani. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's exactly what I've said. They prove it right down to the last nickel. Ever hear of Linda Sarsour? Remember the Women's March 2017? She's a Palestinian American. She is a true Jew hater. She is a Marxist. She is a grave threat. She preaches violence, in my humble opinion. And she's right in the middle of this. You know, Mr. Producer, you know, Mr. and Mrs. America, she's the one who mentored Zoran Mandani. Did you folks know this? They kept it a secret a long time. A long time. For 10 years, they've been grooming this guy. 10 years. There was Soros money involved. There's a lot involved. And as this report points out, a database of 110 groups backing Mandani, 110 of these groups backing Mandani, exposes a tighter inner circle of organizations that identify as Muslim or socialist, a.k.a. Islamists or Marxists, working hand in glove with 76 Democrat Party affiliates. Remember, I've been saying this isn't an issue of the base. This is the new Democrat Party. Allied groups and unions. Particularly important in this political machine are two networks. Sarsour's Empower organizations, Empower, Muslim Power, Empower organizations, and another constellation of groups called M-Gage, E-M-Gage. She controls both. She works closely with the latter. She runs the former. And these organizations have been generously funded. In total, billionaire George Soros' Open Society Philanthropies have given them millions, according to tax filings. Millions. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? Altogether, they have annual revenues, of about $24 million. And they have worked to promote Mamdani's campaign with endorsements, fundraising, social media campaigns, and canvassing. The result, a carefully constructed political career that mainstreams the socialist goals, a.k.a. Marxist-Islamist goals, long embraced by Sarsour and fellow members of the Democratic Socialists of America. This is basically a communist Islamist operation. Now, for the rest of you who are not in New York, and I've been warning about these Republicans who say, well, let them win New York, and then we'll win everything else. It's a machine that is expressing itself in races from New York to Virginia, Minnesota, Texas, California, and more, with Empower and Engage aligning with the Democratic Socialists of America and the Democratic Party to propel candidates who may share their views. In a campaign called Defend and Advance, Engage Super PAC is pushing Mamdani, and here's the one in the shadows that no one's paying attention to that drives me crazy here in Virginia. And Democratic Virginia Lieutenant Governor candidate Ghazala Hashmi as its star candidates. Ghazala Hashmi is an Islamist, a Marxist Islamist, in my humble opinion, running for lieutenant governor as a Democrat. Now, you know what that means? A governor serves one term. That means if she wins the lieutenant governor position, she's one step away from being governor of Virginia, Mr. Producer, our first Marxist Islamist governor in the entire country. Now, that's how I view her. That's my opinion. But apparently it's the opinion of the Democratic Socialists of America, because she's a priority. And she's on the undercard in Virginia, so people aren't paying attention. They pay attention to the governor's race, which is very important. Sears should win. And they pay attention to the attorney general race. The Democrats, a head case. But the lieutenant governor, this is how this group works. This is how this ideology works. Slip her in as lieutenant governor, this Ghazala Hashmi. And then she's one breath away from governor, the first Marxist Islamist governor in the United States. You think I'm kidding about this stuff? Look at all the time I spend spelling it out, explaining it, proving it, showing you the substance of these things. Engage's Defend and Advance roster of supported candidates and office holders includes Dearborn, Michigan Mayor Abdullah Hammoud. Remember this guy from Dearbornistan? Remember how radical he is? Quote, I want you to know as mayor, you're not welcome here. Remember that one? He recently told a Christian pastor who objected to a proposal to name a street in honor of a local man who had allegedly praised terrorist groups Hamas and Hezbollah. The mayor said, and the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence. I didn't think Hamas and Hezbollah did either. And yet, a few days ago, 40,000 individuals who think like this mayor, who are extremists like this mayor, celebrated in the streets. In the streets. This Mamdani is among the worst of the worst. He's backed by the worst of the worst. He hangs out with the worst imams. He defends Hamas. Now he's kind of backtracking because he wants to win the election, but he said what he said. His mother is funded in part by Qatar. Qatar has posted on social media and is backing Mamdani. I don't care who considers Qatar a best friend. They're not my best friend, as far as I'm concerned. Not because, for a zillion reasons, including 9/11. Including 9/11. And what did this clown get out of 9/11? J.D. Vance was right. His auntie was afraid to go on the subway because she might get weird looks because of her hijab. But his auntie was in Tanzania, never was in the United States. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant my father's first cousin. You're a liar and a fraud, a phony victim. Say Islamophobia anytime you're attacked. Pretend you're defending the Muslim faith when we have moderate Muslims coming out and saying they don't like this guy. Like Zuhdi Jasser, who will be on my show Saturday. Boy, I have a hell of a show Saturday. In addition to my opening statement, where I'm going to really let this guy have it. We have Zuhdi Jasser, who's Muslim, who despises these radicals. We have our buddy Ben Shapiro as our second guest. Fantastic. Fantastic show Saturday. Life, Liberty, and Levin. I hope you'll set your DVR. I hope you'll watch it live. Sunday for the full hour, we're going to have Douglas Murray. He's never done a full hour, but he's brilliant. He's a scholar, incredibly articulate. And again, I said I want to highlight some people who are particularly wise, particularly important. So some shows will do two guests who are also wise and important, and some shows will do one guest. Some people who I have on the two-guest show will at some point be on the one-guest show. But in any event, I want to expose you as much as I can to these people. So we're not just doing a conga line of broadcasting. I don't like it myself. I don't watch it myself. So Mandani isn't the Manchurian candidate. He's the Islamist candidate. He was groomed for this for 10 years. For 10 years, he was groomed for this. And now here he is. On the Marxist side, he keeps talking about the Vienna housing system. In Vienna, Austria. And 60% of the people there live in government-subsidized houses. And he keeps pointing to that as an example. It wouldn't take much for a media outlet to spend a little bit of time, other than Fox and other than me, to take a look at that housing system. The rents are going sky high. There's literally no maintenance. The buildings are falling apart because that's what happens when the government runs things. That's his idea. Oh, and his tax plan. He wants to lower taxes in communities that are majority brown and black, and he wants to raise taxes in communities that are majority white. So he wants a tax system based on racism. Oh, and of course the cops. We all know you NYPD, you really work for the Jews. You really work for the IDF. Something I would think Fuentes and Tucker would be saying. No, Mr. Producer? And this is what I mean by the joining of the mentally ill, the unhinged, with the Fuentes types, the Carlson types, the Bannon types, with the Mandani types, the Linda Sarsour types. In the end, they wind up in the same place, don't they? Hating their fellow countrymen, hating their own country, and trying to turn one against the other. And for all you evangelical Christians out there and other Christians, just remember, the Bible doesn't mean what it says. God's Word doesn't mean what it says. No. If you're a Christian, and you believe in the Holy Land, and you believe that the Holy Land should be protected, then you have a mental disease, according to Tucker Carlson. And his little Adolf nodding his head up and down. How sick are these bastards? We have a Judeo-Christian-based country, and they attack the Jews and the Christians. And then they want you to believe they're MAGA and America first. They are sleazeballs. They are grifters. They are punks. Same with those on the left. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. We talked about this yesterday. 65% of the voters in New York City are Democrats. Mondani, if the polls are even right, has 45% support. I can assure you there's no Republicans. Maybe there's some independents. 45% when the city's 65% Democrat. How did they get to this position? He's not even a Democrat. He's a democratic socialist, a.k.a. a Marxist Islamist. They got to that point because they changed the primary voting system when people were asleep at the wheel. Just like in Pennsylvania, a lot of people are asleep at the wheel when they have a Supreme Court race with 3 radical Democrats running, and moderate Democrats and Republicans need to come out and vote a no confidence for them. But I don't know that they will. But back to New York City. So they changed it so somebody with a plurality of the vote can win, and they changed the date for the vote. They moved it up several months when people aren't paying attention. So the Mondami supporters, such as they are, they turn out, and very few other supporters do. And so they win with a plurality of the vote, plurality in the primary. So now he's the Democrat nominee officially. People asleep again, not knowing what's taking place. But these radical activists, they do this purposely because they know people have to work for a living, except for them. So they changed it, and now in the general election, you've got all these parties running. I think there's like 8 of them, but whatever it is. And so if he gets 45% of the vote, even though it's 65% Democrat in the city, he becomes the mayor. He's getting most of his support, 62% of his support, from migrants. From migrants, not from longtime citizens, from migrants. 62% of his vote. So this is how it's all played out. The Democrat Party has allowed all these migrants into the country, and now the Democrat Party is fighting for its own survival, what's left of it, because the Marxist Islamists are obviously the most substantial and growing part of the Democrat Party now. They have no real leaders. Hakeem Jeffries folded like a cheap tent. Hochul, the governor, has humiliated herself over and over again. She folded like a cheap tent. So you've got Schumer, who's a coward. He won't come out against Mondami. It's really quite a mess. We'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
When the going gets tough, a tough get. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
So there's nothing Tucker Carlson hates more, despises more than Christians who believe in the Bible. Christian, quote-unquote, Zionists. A Zionist is just somebody who believes in the state of Israel. That's it. That's it. This Mondami is a real sleazeball. It's the worst of the worst, the underbelly of society for the reasons I've stated over and over again, including today. He says, of course, I recognize the state of Israel, but not a Jewish state. Everybody should be treated equally. Now, Israel is surrounded by Muslim countries where nobody's treated equally. Well, I don't think there's 10 Jews in all those countries combined. I don't think there's many Christians in all those countries combined. Does he ever say, I favor a two-state solution? Which he says he does. But only if the Palestinians treat Jews as equals. Does he ever say that, Mr. Producer? So this guy's a punk. He's a fraud. He opposes the state of Israel. He is always talking about equality and rights, something that doesn't exist in the vast majority of Arab and Muslim countries. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Now, one of his big issues, at least up to about 2 minutes ago, was legalizing prostitution. You people believe in that? He says because poor women without skills really have no other way to make a living. And they can't sell sex if nobody's legally permitted to buy it. Isn't that sick? That's the Marxist side of him. Maybe it's the Islamist side too. I don't know. That doesn't sound like treating women equal to me. That statement doesn't sound like treating women equal to me. Women are not things. Those of us who have wives and daughters and mothers, we get this. We reject legalized prostitution because we respect women. We know what happens to little girls. Legalized prostitution. We know the violence. We know the diseases. We know that women are treated as sex slaves and that they're sold into sex slavery and pornography. Now, surely Zoran Mondami knows it too. So why is this a hot issue for him? Now he's trying to downplay it. But that's what he said. Why is that a good thing? Why should he be in charge of the housing market? That doesn't work anywhere. Ask any Venezuelan who's here. Any Cuban who's here. Ask them. Or any of these socialist countries that he's so excited about. We tried this in the United States in the 60s. You tried it in New York. How many of these buildings have been demolished? Because they're rat-infested, cockroach-infested, gang member-infested, drug-infested, prostitution-infested. People who are raised in or grow up in these public housing units, condemn them. The way you build more housing is to attract more investment, but he doesn't get it. He hates capitalism. Lowering taxes, not raising them. Lowering regulations, not raising them. Creating an abundance of homes so you bring down the price, supply and demand. That's not right wing. That's the laws of economics, like the laws of physics. It is what it is. You either recognize it or you don't. Now we have a man in Mondami who's never held a private sector job. Not one. Not one. And yet he wants to run the city. He wants to run the most financially important city on the face of the earth. And he'll run it into the ground because he's an ideologue. And that's what whack job ideologues do. They destroy things. They don't know how to create things. They don't know how to develop things. They don't know how to build things. They don't know how to take things. Reward people politically. Reward people apparently based on their race, according to this guy. And it's spreading all over the country. Virginia has a candidate. Minnesota has a candidate. Texas has a candidate. Oh, yeah, it's spreading. Some of the school boards in our country are filled with people like this. You know, the undercard, the political positions that don't get a lot of attention, a lot of media. They're filling those. They're targeting those. Schools, towns, town councils, supervisor positions, that sort of thing. Soros has already taken over a whole bunch of prosecutorial positions, local and county prosecutors. How's that worked out? How's that worked out, Manhattan? Well, when you have unassimilated migrants, when you have brainwashed younger voters who go through the indoctrination mill of these colleges and universities, thanks to communist China, the Marxist side, and Qatar, the Islamist side, our dear friends, the Qataris, this is what you get. This is what you get. When you destroy assimilation, you destroy your country. When you have open borders, you destroy your country. I don't care if it's majority black, majority white, majority Jew, majority Christian. It doesn't matter. Whatever that country is, whatever that culture is, you destroy it. That's why almost no country on the face of the earth does it. Except some of these European countries that have a death cult, and our country. Because the Democrats have a death cult. What's the death cult? To destroy our country as is. People say Bernie Sanders and AOC are the leaders of the Democrat Party. Okay. Marxist Islamists. The leaders of the country. You have a political party in this country, a huge political party, one of the two, that hates America. Wrote an entire book on it. People are free to read it on the left and debate me. Go ahead. Give it a shot. Mondami's parents said they had an enormous influence on him, and that was the purpose. No question about it. His father is a tenured professor at Columbia University. His father preaches that America created the ideology for the Third Reich and Hitler, that America is responsible for and taught Hitler to use concentration camps and eliminate an entire ethnic group or religious group. He compared Abraham Lincoln to Hitler. Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves, compared to Hitler. That's his father, America's imperialist and colonialist. And apparently his grandfather in Uganda was also a Marxist rebel. It's in the DNA. The mother is a propagandist for Islam, for the Islamists, rather. Sucking up money from Qatar that throws it around all over the place. And people can't wait to take it. They can't wait to take it. Did you know the Medal of Honor Museum took, I think it was $5 million from Qatar? Did I mention that before, Mr. Producer? I think I have. They're that hard up for money, they take $5 million or whatever it was, $2 million from Qatar? Why do you think Qatar did that? Because they care about our Medal of Honor winners? Seriously? It's incredible. Qatar is still defending Hamas. Qatar is still defending October 7th. I told you, go to that site, memory.org, MEMRI.org, memory.org. It's fantastic. It's honest, it's objective, it's fantastic. MEMRI.org. Check it out. So this is not going to be limited to New York City or New York. It's not going to be limited to Dearbornistan and it's not going to be limited to Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's not going to be limited to Virginia in the lieutenant governor race. I've just named you 4 or 5. Excuse me. And there's many more. Under the radar, above the radar. The media run interference for this. The Democrat Party is basically accepting this and embracing this. In with the new, they say. There's nothing new about Marxism and Islamism. It's called totalitarianism. That's what it is. That's what it is. So here's a guy who's 34 years old, who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, who's been raised and indoctrinated on an ideology that hates the West, that hates our economic system, hates America in particular, as his father and his mother do, hates Jews, is a rabid anti-Semite, hates the cops because the cops represent law and order in the system which he wants to overthrow. Here's a guy that's never run a damn thing. Nothing. Zero. Not even one of these guys with a squeegee. Never worked at a McDonald's. Never did anything as a kid. Unlike the great governor of California, Newsom, who's a real hustler, I hear, Mr. Producer. Yeah, another fraud. But this is different. Newsom is a fraud. He's a destroyer. He's an incompetent boob. He's a leftist. These are Marxist Islamists. They don't even think Newsom or Hakeem Jeffries go far enough. See what I'm saying? This is a big deal. And we cannot allow them to devour 1 inch of the body politic, the culture, the civil society, because we'll lose them. You should go to the CAIR website, C-A-I-R, see what they say. You should go to the Memory website and see what they're saying behind our backs in different languages. They interpret it. They translate it, especially Qatar. Take a look at it. Tarlsons, the Nick Fuentes, the Steve Bannons, the Owens, and all the rest of them. These are mentally unhinged bigots, in my humble opinion, all of whom have very sketch backgrounds, who are phonies. Phonies. Who are distracting way too many people from the real problems we have in this country. And the fact that they hate Israel and hate Netanyahu and hate Jews. Oh, no, we don't. We're just asking questions. We know who you are. And the lowest of the lowlives among them, Fuentes, of course, Bannon, of course, is a criminal. Owens, of course, but this guy, Tucker Carlson, he's smart enough to know better. And for him to platform Fuentes, who spent the last several years doing everything he could to libel Charlie Kirk, to destroy Charlie Kirk, because Charlie wanted him as far away from Turning Point USA events as possible. He wouldn't invite him. He was very frustrated that other people platformed him. Charlie Kirk, a Christian Zionist. The fact that Tarlson would have this guy, Fuentes, on his platform. Look, I expect him to choreograph attacks on me. That's beside the point. Well beside the point. I'm a big boy. I can handle these punks. They're nothing to me. Zero. Together they have an IQ of negative 78. Oh, that's not what I'm talking about. To go to that memorial funeral for Charlie Kirk and then to platform Fuentes to stab your old friend in the back is unconscionable. Josh Hammer has a great piece in the Daily Mail. I think it's behind the paywall, but it is a great piece about how this guy is purposely trying to destroy and divide MAGA. Purposely. And so are his entrails. Fuentes, Bannon, and the rest of them. There's also a great post by Steve Deace, a friend of mine, great broadcaster. He says, who's the Zionist? And he lists the things Donald Trump has done with Israel, and then he lists the things George W. Bush did or did not do with Israel. And he said, who's the Zionist? George W. Bush or Donald Trump? He says, Donald Trump. Hands down. This is another reason they're trying to destroy MAGA. They're attacking Christians. They're attacking Jews. They're siding with the Islamists and the Marxists. They attack our economic system and capitalism, too. So you're going to get the truth here. This is why I call this Radio Free America, right here behind this mic. I share your principles and beliefs. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Well, how about that? Breitbart poll 2 years after October 7, majority of Palestinians say Hamas was right to attack. 86% deny civilian atrocities. Yes, we're going to live in peace and harmony with capitalism. Will fix everything. We will develop Gaza into a paradise. It's not the buildings. It's the people. Generation after generation, teaching them hate from little babies has an impact. And it didn't just start yesterday. It didn't just start in World War II. It's been going on for a couple hundred years. You know, some people, and certainly their leaders, just don't want peace. Some do. You know, the 14%, no doubt do, but the 86%, apparently not. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Hello, 877-381-3811. It looks like the Biden regime had not an FBI, but a Stasi. A Stasi headed by Jack Smith, who they brought into our country from The Hague. Apparently they couldn't find a legitimate prosecutor anywhere in the country to take the job of special counsel. Nothing special about old Jack. Of course, his appointment was unconstitutional. That didn't stop them. You appoint a special counsel to investigate your own administration, not somebody else. But the violation of the Appointments Clause, that didn't stop him? No. And you see, Jack decided that January 6th would give him an opportunity to investigate Republicans and only Republicans. He got the sign-off from Merrick Garland, the Attorney General. And, of course, he got the sign-off from the Deputy Attorney General, Monaco, who was really a left-wing bomb thrower. That place was filled with left-wing bomb throwers, probably still is at the underlevel. That's what will happen in New York City and the bureaucracy there, too. All kinds of Marxists and Islamists will pigeonhole their way into one department after another. But Senator Grassley has unveiled 197 subpoenas from the Biden-era so-called Arctic Frost operation. An enemies list by the Biden Stasi, headed by Jack Smith, operating out of the Department of Justice. Fox reports Senator Chuck Grassley released today 197 subpoenas the Biden regime's FBI used to seek testimony and documents related to hundreds of Republicans and Republican entities as part of the Bureau's Arctic Frost probe, the precursor to former special counsel Jack Smith's election investigation. I'm reminded by our friend Tim Graham over at the Media Research Center, one of the great organizations of conservatism and truth. I'm reminded, he says, you know, early on you said that January 6th committee has to be sharing information with Jack Smith. So he'll conduct a criminal investigation. I don't think we can go back that far and find that kind of audio, but he's right. Now, why did I say that? Because the committee will be doing not only dirty work for itself, but dirty work for the Biden regime, the executive branch, by sharing the information with Smith. And so some people who are giving depositions and so forth and so on have no idea that they have just given information to a federal grand jury, or at least their prosecutor, who might use it against them. It's a sleazy way of getting around the Constitution. Arctic Frost was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. Senator Grassley said at a press conference today. Now, he's no bomb thrower. He said, contrary to what Smith has said publicly, this was clearly a fishing expedition. Standing alongside Grassley, Senator Ron Johnson, great man, called the subpoenas nothing short of a Biden administration enemies list. The subpoenas included non-public, confidential grand jury material that Grassley said he obtained through whistleblower disclosures. They sought certain communications with media companies, including Fox News, CBS, Sinclair, and Newsmax. That is, between Republican members of Congress and this media. Why would the executive branch, the Biden regime, the FBI, this prosecutor have to know any of that? With any members and aides in Congress, they also sought sweeping financial information from conservative entities, conservative groups. So this was a massive, unconstitutional violation of separation of powers, a massive unconstitutional investigation without any pretext of conservative organizations. The Biden Stasi. Grassley has been releasing troves of documents related to Arctic Frost. A probe, he says, was politicized and lacked basis. Smith used the probe to bring criminal charges against Trump related to the 2020 election. The reason those charges against Trump in the election were bogus is because he didn't commit any crimes. None. You're allowed to challenge an election. You're allowed to send a second slate of electors. It was done by Kennedy in Hawaii, as I've explained over and over again. It's been done, I think it was done in the 1800s as well. Now, why do you do that? You do that because if you actually win a challenge, you got to have electors to count. Otherwise, the other team wins. That's how it works. Lenny Brewer, a lawyer for Smith, said in a statement provided to Fox News Digital that Smith stands by his offer to appear publicly before the Senate and House to testify about his work. How about privately? We know why they want it publicly. How about privately, where they can really grill him, put him under oath, under penalty of perjury? House lawmakers have called on Smith to interview with them behind closed doors, while Grassley said he's still seeking more information from Smith, not ready for a public hearing. Because what'll happen is he'll coordinate with the Democrats on the committee, Will Smith and his surrogates like Lenny Brewer, in order to create a commotion, to obstruct, to call names, to try and turn it into a circus, and nothing will get resolved. That's what the Democrats want. Senator Ted Cruz also raised the press conference the controversial subpoenas for 8 Republican senators. We're going to get answers of every person who signed off on this abuse of power, and mark my words, there will be accountability, said Ted Cruz. Smith brought 4 charges against Trump in 2023, and I've done this, and I've explained why they were bogus. The Klan Act of 1861, the Enron Obstruction Acts, what the court said have no application. I told you they had no application. And one other dumb thing. Oh, yes, the misappropriation or maladministration charge that you use against federal contractors. This is where he went, because they had nothing. There was no crime committed. Zero. Nothing. And then, of course, his appointment was unconstitutional. All the legal analysts, all the former federal prosecutors, all the disgruntled former Trump lawyers, all jackasses. They made fools of themselves, but nobody will remember. Nobody will remember. But I remember. Apparently over 400 groups had their records looked into. Wow. And what was he looking for? Conversations? To do what? To charge them with what? There's nothing to charge them with. So let me be clear. Let's step back. What took place? The Biden regime, with the Department of Justice Stasi, with Merrick Garland as Attorney General, Monaco as Deputy Attorney General, Jack Smith as the unconstitutionally appointed prosecutor, they were going after the entire Republican Party apparatus. The presidential candidate, members of the Senate, members of the House, and conservative organizations. They were trying to criminalize the Republican Party. And yet the Democrats talk about authoritarianism. The Democrats talk about the tyranny that we're living in here. We lack a democracy, they say. They back a Mondami, Muslim Islamist who doesn't believe in democracy or republicanism. They shut down the government, such as it is, and then they pretend all the Republicans have to do is X, Y, Z. All they have to do is vote yes. The Democrat Party hates America. It's destroying America with its Marxist Islamists, with its Stasi, out-of-control prosecutors and investigators, with its activist lawyers dressed up with black robes as lower court judges. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, their brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values. And with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk. To their credit, some people are starting to pick up on what I was discussing here last week and over the weekend on Fox. The reason the Democrats have done what they've done to the government and the budget is because of Obamacare. Obamacare is imploding. It was an unworkable system from day one. Every single Democrat voted for it. Every single Republican voted against it. Notice they don't even call it Obamacare. They call it the Affordable Care Act. Why? Because they're in the lying business. They're in the manipulation business. So the Affordable Care Act is not affordable. Obamacare is a dud. And come, I guess, early next week, many of you on Obamacare are going to find out what your premiums are, and they're going to be through the roof. They're going to be through the roof, number one, because Obamacare is unaffordable. Number two, because Congress had voted to massively expand the Unaffordable Obamacare Act a few years back during the pandemic by increasing the benefits and then expanding the people who can apply for it. Well, that's how you kill a program right there. That drove up the costs for Medicare, drove up the costs for Medicaid, drove up the costs for private health care plans, because when you have a big program with multi-millions of people on it, and you screw around with the market system like this Mondami, that idiot, or Bernie Sanders, that idiot, they blow up the private health care system, and then they say, we need more government, we need to centralize it because big insurance and big pharma, big this and big that. Never a big government. It's destroying it, ripping you off. Once again, it's supply and demand is a law of nature. It's a law of nature. And when the government interferes, screws up the market, this is what you get. Unaffordability, lousy care, can't pick the doctors in hospitals most of the time that you want. I mean, I don't know how many more examples. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. It's like Marxism. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. Islamism with open borders. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. How many more examples, real human examples, do we need? It's not even an experiment anymore. It's as predictable as night and day. So the Democrats, many of you have employee health care, right, Mr. Producer? We do. Employer, I should say, insurance program. They want to eliminate them. They want to drag them into Obamacare. So you pay into Obamacare. That's what they want to do. That's the end game. You're going to start hearing them saying, we need universal health care. And you'll recall in that Democrat debate, in 2020, I guess, the Democrat, whether they think we should have illegal aliens on health care, they all raised their hands. Whether they think we should have Medicare for all, they all raised their hands. So all these programs, Medicare would actually go. You know, Louis Gohmert's a good guy. Texts me from now and then, and he said, don't forget, Mark, to create Obamacare, they took $700 billion out of Medicare, which is right. And don't forget, America, they told you your premiums were going to go down $2,500. That's never happened. It's never going to happen. They just lie, just like they lie about what's happening to the government right now. Now, food stamps are set to stop on November 1st for 40 million Americans. I have a question. Why are 40 million Americans on food stamps? That's another program that has been grossly expanded and has massive fraud and waste. But putting that aside for the moment, although don't forget it because it's true, if 5 Democrat senators would vote with the Republican senators, nobody would lose their food stamps. The military would be paid. The TSA would be paid. The FAA would be paid. Everybody would be paid. The Republicans in the House passed a continuing resolution to pay everybody at the current rate and to keep the programs that they voted on. The Democrats are trying to put all the crap back, all the slop back in. They're trying to get their illegal alien constituents paid. I mean, after all, they brought them to the country just as they don't want to deport them, and so they have their militia in the streets physically attacking ICE. That's what's going on. And so they see this as an opportunity. How far are they going to take it? How far are they going to go with this? Well, the Republicans ought not buckle. Period. Republicans should stand firm. It turns out the polling is doing just fine for them. Not that this is about politics, but for the Democrats, it's always politics. It's always power. That's why I wrote the book on power. Always power. Always grabbing as much power as they can. That's where they come from. And you got to know it in order to try and prevent it. You got to know it in order to try and prevent it. Now, John Thune said this afternoon that he thinks we're closer to resolving this. I don't know what that means. Thune's been really great, but I don't know what that means, closer to resolving this. It better not mean that the Democrats get anything that they want, because it's out of control. And if you want more of this, you capitulate to it. This is unprecedented what they're doing with a continuing resolution. They're blackmailing the Republicans. They're blackmailing the country. They're blackmailing all these employees. And they're saying, even though we don't have a majority, we'll say you control the Senate, even though we know you don't, because you need 60 votes to get anything passed, and you only have 53 Republicans. But we don't like what you passed with the big better bill. We don't like the fact that illegal aliens aren't getting health care. We don't like the fact that able-bodied Americans aren't getting Medicaid because they won't work or volunteer for 20 hours a week. We don't like the fact that PBS and NPR aren't getting all the money that they used to get. We don't like the fact that all these freak shows, phonies and frauds, who we used to subsidize, aren't getting the subsidies that we created. $1.5 trillion worth of all this. We don't like it. So we're going to blackmail you, and then we're going to blame you for what we've done. That's what we're going to do. Think it'll work? It's not working so far. It's not working so far. It's so bad what they're doing that even Jake Tapper took on Representative Melanie Stansberger, Democrat, New Mexico. And we'll play this when we come back. All you got to do, he says, is vote to open the government, quote unquote. She doesn't like that very much. I'll be right back. There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, their brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values, and with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk.
Mark Levin doesn't just read the news, he makes the news. Call the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
John Thune. Well, let's see what he has to say. Cut 5, go.
That we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico was absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. You voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back. Finally realized this thing has consequences. Well, you know what? What Democrats are doing here, they're making plans to keep the shutdown going.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I've never heard John Thune this emotional. He's been excellent at this, as has the speaker, Mike Johnson. Here's Jake Tapper on CNN yesterday with Representative Melanie Stansbury, Democrat, New Mexico. Cut 7, go.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at
Food
risk?
stamps.
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their tactics.
By the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also, Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the state...
Okay, this woman is a robot. She is a mindless robot. Money for contingency plans. There's a little pot of money, maybe $10 billion put aside for natural disasters. It's legally not available to fund programs, routine programs. So they can't just go there. That's number one. Number two, they say it's housed at the Department of Agriculture. These people are nuts. The Secretary of Agriculture says, I don't know what they're talking about. There's no money over here. There's no money here. I don't know what they're talking about. So now they go on TV and they say, we've got these funds over here. We ought to use them. These funds over, but they're not over there. And even if they were there, they're not usable. So Tapper does the best he can because he's a Democrat. I don't support their tactics either. What tactics? The Republicans and the president said, vote for the continuing resolution. Let's get going. And we'll have these debates over health care. The problem is they don't want to debate over health care. They want Obamacare massively expanded. They want to suck the private health care system into Obamacare, which cannot work. It's not working. It's breaking the backs of the recipients and those who subsidize it, the taxpayers. It doesn't work. And so the Republicans have other ideas that their various committee members and so forth have come up with, and they say, look, we'll deal with that. But first, let's pay these people. And Democrats say no. It's our way or the highway. We not only want to vote on health care, we want to vote to do what we say we want to do, and you got to supply the Republicans to pass it. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? You Republicans are in the majority. You do what we say. These are the blackmailers. That's what they are. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're doing. Make no mistake about it. They have the capacity to do what they should do. Here's President Trump on Air Force One yesterday about it. Cut 3, go.
The Democrats have caused the problem on food stamps. They've caused, all they have to do is sign. And, you know, if they sign, I'll meet with them. They're all saying, well, they actually said Trump is doing an amazing job in this trip. This trip will bring back trillions of dollars, so it's hard. But they do want to meet with me when I get back. But I say get the economy open and we'll meet. I'll meet and we'll solve any difficulties. We have to fix health care because Obamacare is a disaster. I mean, when you see the increases in Obamacare, it never worked. It never will work. And can do something with the Democrats much better than Obamacare. Less money and better health care. And that's something I think that could come out of this with the Democrats. You work with the Democrats, because right now the insurance companies are making too much money, and they're making a fortune. And the health care, Obamacare is poor, and the premiums are ridiculous. It's going up a lot. I don't want to say the number. The number is very substantial. But when you hear the number, and it's Obamacare, it never worked. It never will work. It'll never be good. And I think it's a great time for the Republicans and Democrats to get together and make something that will work, and let the insurance companies make money. They're entitled to that, but not the kind of money that they're making.
Okay. I don't know about all that, because I don't know all the numbers. But that said, we always attack the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the oil companies, the this company, the that company. I don't know anything about any of that. I don't know who's making what. I do know this. Obamacare is imploding. It's dragging in the rest of the healthcare system, all of you. You're going to see your premiums go up. Now, you folks on Medicare, you're going to say, what's the big deal? I'm on Medicare. Well, it's very simple. Medicare is going to have to cut back, too. It's going to have to cut back, too. That's what Obamacare has done. Don't say you weren't warned behind this microphone over and over, night after night, day after day. But then again, I know you knew that. It's the Democrats who pushed ahead. Now they have another plan. It's massively expand Obamacare. They did that during the pandemic. Now they have another plan on top of that. Let's massively increase spending on Obamacare. It won't fix the problem. But so what? The goal is to make such a lousy system so expensive that everybody's going to say, all right, the insurance company, we can't take it anymore. Government, take it over. This is what they do. This is what they do. Government, take it over. Like all the experts are in government. Like all the efficiency managers are in government. Like all the government knows how to take care of hospitals and billing systems and patients. Oh, yeah, the government, they'll fix everything. Tell me, what does the government ever run that's run well? The healthcare system is about 20% of our economy. You want to turn that over to the government? They already control about half of that through Medicare, Medicaid, and this Obamacare. They already control about half of our healthcare. You really want to give up your employer subsidized insurance plan? Is that what you want to do? All you unions out there who've negotiated for private health care, you want to give it up? Because that's where this is going. If the Democrats get their way, that's where this is going. I want you to listen to me. This is serious. Many of you vote Democrat, or many of your friends and family members do, who work for the federal government. You happy with the Democrats? They created this entire scenario. And here's the funny thing about Obamacare. When they were in charge last year this time, with Biden in office, with the auto pen in office, they extended the subsidies on Obamacare, Mr. Producer, for 1 year. That was their decision. 1 year. 1 year is up on December 31. 1 year. And now they're saying, wow, that was a mistake. They did it. Obamacare's a mess. They did it. Obamacare was expanded for those on the program and expanded to include people who weren't on the program. You know, during the pandemic, whenever there is a so-called emergency, the government gets massively more powerful. Your civil liberties are thrown to the wind. The budget's thrown to the wind. The government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, the pandemic's over. Do they go back to pre-pandemic status? No. Do they go back to pre-pandemic spending? No. Do they reduce the size of Obamacare just for the people who need it? No. All right, I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, their brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values. And with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk. You see what Bill Gates is doing on climate change? Quote unquote, climate change? The Associated Press, Bill Gates calls for climate fight to shift focus from curbing emissions to reducing human suffering. Bill Gates thinks climate change is a serious problem, but it won't be the end of civilization. You know, Mr. Biddy, maybe I should be worth $250 billion. Haven't I been saying this all along? And I'm not alone, of course. So I want you to think about that first sentence in this AP Wire story. What does this mean? Al Gore would have us destroy our economy. John Kerry would have us destroy our economy, destroy our jobs, destroy our infrastructure, our industries. Because they said climate change is going to end civilization. One of their cheerleaders, of course, was Bill Gates. Now Bill Gates says, wait a minute, no, it won't. It won't end civilization. He thinks scientific innovation will curb it, and it's instead time for a strategic pivot, quote unquote, from focusing on limiting rising temperatures to fighting poverty and preventing disease. Gee, that's never been tried before. The Doomsday Outlook has led the climate community to focus too much on near-term goals to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that cause warming, diverting resources from the most effective things that can be done to improve life in a warming world, he said. In a memo released yesterday, Gates said the world's primary goal should instead be to prevent suffering, primarily for those in the toughest conditions in the world's poorest countries. Well, you know what prevents suffering in most of those countries? Marxism and Islamism. Not the climate. Hello. That's correct. Marxism and Islamism. If given a choice between eradicating malaria and a 1/10 of a degree increase in warming, I'll let the temperature go up 0.1 degree to get rid of malaria. This is him. People don't understand the suffering that exists today. He spends most of his time now on the goals of the Gates Foundation, which has poured tens of billions of dollars into health care and so forth and so on. It's a 17-page memo. Well, if he wrote it, the whole world must change now. So, of course, those who are invested in the climate catastrophe theory, that it will destroy human life as we know it, who receive huge salaries, who raise huge amounts of money, who become famous, who get huge speaking fees, well, they're invested in the fear-mongering and the scaremongering. They're invested in it. Science never mattered to them. Science doesn't matter to them today. I have a whole chapter on this, by the way, in Liberty and Tyranny. That book is what, 15, 16 years old? Said this already. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. This is the Power Hour, Hour 3. Isn't it amazing so much of what the Democrats insisted, existential, we must do this, we must do that, is so phony? Now, all of a sudden, Bill Gates, it's not existential. Oh, okay. And the media genuflects. Okay, it's not existential. Let's help the poor and the needy. Gee, isn't that amazing? Now, we've been beaten over the head with this for 10 years. Climate change. I remember when Rush would fight it. I would fight it. Hannity would fight it. We would all fight. So what are they talking about? We bring on the experts, the climatologists, the meteorologists, experts from MIT, from all over the world. I wrote about it as far back as Liberty and Tyranny. An entire chapter on it. How preposterous this is. And now all of a sudden, Bill Gates, who's not any smarter than anybody else, he's a billionaire, but he doesn't know climate more than anybody else. We all look at the same thing. It's not existential. The country won't be destroyed from it. Excuse me? Then they want us to sign this treaty that would result in our government, our economy shrinking, jobs eliminated, industries regulated out of existence while the communist Chinese are going wild, while the Indians are going wild. We would destroy ourselves. And I told you all along, this is another Marxist crap agenda, the degrowth agenda, which I write about in American Marxism. It's amazing what I write about. In American Marxism, the degrowth agenda. And the Democrat Party hates America. The degrowth agenda. Now they're just flat out, we hate capitalism. I'm a democratic socialist. Now think of those two words. How can you be a democratic socialist? The whole point of socialism is taking decision-making away from the people and giving it to the government. But anyway, so you get the point. Well, they had another problem. He misjudged the public. But how many times did you hear, you don't believe in climate change? During debates. Oh, you're a climate denier. Remember that one? Remember Chuck Todd, Mr. Producer? I quoted him in 2 books. If you're a climate denier, you're not coming on the show. There's climate change. It's existential. And we're not bringing you on. This guy's supposed to be a journalist. Meet the depressed. He failed, of course. I don't want to hear about it. That's it. So now Gates says what we've all been saying. What we've all been saying. And now it's, let's help the poor and the needy. What about 0.01% climate change? That just doesn't make any sense. Oh, it doesn't? No, it doesn't make any sense. We can't. That's just nonsense. Unbelievable. Well, here's Harry Enton again, the CNN chief data analyst, about climate change. Cut 19, go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will agree with Bill Gates that maybe this wouldn't be the end of humanity. And I think, we've been talking about...
A lot of people on the Democrat and on the left side would never have agreed with Bill Gates. Period. This was the way to drive our economy into a centralized industrial planning economy, to attack capitalism. That was the goal all along, to degrowth our economic system. Go ahead.
Now, for decades upon decades upon decades, and the worry in terms of climate change, simply put, hasn't shifted. It has not reached the majority of Americans. What are we talking about? Greatly worried about climate change. You go all the way back to 1989, it was 35%. 2000, 40%. 2020, 46%. And in 2025, look at that. It's 40%, the same number as we had 25 years ago back in 2000, and then only just 5 points higher than we had back in 1989. Really, we've just seen consistency on this issue. The bottom line is that the climate change message that folks who, of course, believe that is real and is quite worrisome, simply put, has not really worked with the American people.
So greatly worried. You say greatly worried. I mean, so people say they're greatly worried, 40%, but how worried? Really? Is it the biggest thing they're worried about?
Yeah, it is not anywhere close to being the biggest thing that people are worried about. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just talk about top issue facing the U.S., climate change? Well, I got some numbers for you on the screen right here.
It's up there with Epstein. Nobody gives a crap, except the podcasters. The influencers. The influencers, not an influencing. No. It's the future. Go ahead.
Mathematical genius to know that these numbers are not particularly high. Top issue facing the United States, climate change. It was 3% in 2021, 2% on average of polls in 2023, and this year the average of polls 2. It is very, very low on the list of priorities. I was trying to count it on the Gallup poll, and basically it was so low down, I was counting all the different issues, almost lost track. It was like 15th or 20th. It was just very, very low down. So the bottom line is not only are we seeing that the number has not really moved over the last 36 years, but in terms of being the top issue, it's simply...
Wait a minute, 36 years? I thought we were going to be gone. I thought the ocean was going to sweep over the land. I thought we weren't going to exist anymore. All the condos in Florida would be removed. All the surfers would be surfing in Newark, New Jersey. I thought that the end was near. And now it's nigh. It's nigh, I say. And they talk, and they keep talking like they knew it. No, it's never going to be big. The numbers have never changed, of course. And of course, it's not existential. America will survive. The science will... They sound like us. Like you and me. Isn't that amazing? Go ahead.
Through 2%, there are just a ton of things that rank way higher on the list of importance.
Yes. Like we're living in an authoritarian regime. It's getting very close to real autocracy. You know how I know? Because the barely literate Al Sharpton said so on the Barely Watched MSLSD Sakon Vansedia, that is the Morning Joe show. Sharpton, what did he have to say? Why does anybody care? Nonetheless, 18, go.
Rioting that no one sees but him. I think what is the clear threat here...
That's right. Nobody sees rioting except Trump. That's right. Those ICE agents who were attacked, they're not really attacked. Only Trump sees that. Says Mr. Crown Heights. Oh, yeah, remember that? Yeah. Oh, he'd be an expert on violence and rioting, wouldn't he? And yet, look what he does with his expertise. He lies about it. Next thing you know, he'll say climate change is real. Go ahead.
Do we allow a president to fabricate something and then send in National Guard? And in his speech...
He didn't fabricate anything. You see, you're supposed to be a man of the streets, Al. You're supposed to be a man of the people. Certain people. And you're not. Used to get fat and happy. Now you're skinny and happy. You got your foundation. You got your notoriety. You got your speeches. You got your TV gig. Streets are dangerous, Al. Our citizens, they don't like all this illegal immigration. Oh, one other thing, Al. It's not autocracy when you have a president enforcing federal immigration law, is it? You and your party let all these illegal aliens in, and now you want them to stay. You let them in illegally, and they're remaining illegally. And when the president says we're deporting them, these governors and these mayors bring in their militia. Illegal aliens who are armed. Sympathetic citizens. Marxist Islamists, among others, who are violent. Go ahead.
Japan said he'll even send in the military.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not getting very close to a real autocracy here where the president just does what
military
he wants,
state.
I think that's the problem.
Military state, Mika. Why you're not that stupid, are you? Why are you mumbling stuff like that? A military state? Do you know what a military state is? And Sharpton. These two are going to walk out on the streets, New Jersey, wherever MSLSD is these days. They're going to be perfectly fine. They're not going to be in a military state. They're not going to be in a autocracy. None of that's going to happen. This weekend, they'll all sit on their fat asses and watch football. Or do whatever they do. No threat from the military, no threat from ICE, no threat whatsoever. And then the camera lights come on again Monday. And there they are again. We live in very close to a real autocracy, a military state. A dictatorship. Yes. Are we going to go to the play tomorrow, Joe? Where are we going to go? Nothing's going to change in their lives. Not a damn thing. If it was a state, everything would change. MSLSD wouldn't be on the air anymore. Would it? People would be locked up. People like me. We'd all be in prison, wouldn't we? Yes, we would. That's not going to happen, so why do people talk this way? These are the climate change people who we now know are frauds, but we always knew they're frauds. And they're frauds when it comes to a military state. They don't know what a military state is. Presidents have used the military for many reasons. What they need to do is watch Life, Liberty, and Levin on the weekend. I could educate them, but they don't want to be educated. This is their grift. This is their lane. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, this is great. I'm over at Breitbart. Let's see here. Elise Stefanik leads Kathy in Deep Blue, New York, as socialist Mondani tops mayoral field. He's a Marxist. Come on, boys and girls in the conservative movement. He's a Marxist. We can do this. A new independent survey shows Representative Elise Stefanik, one of my favorite, edging ahead of Democrat Governor Kathy in a potential 2026 gubernatorial matchup, even as New York City Assemblyman Zoran Mandami maintains a commanding lead in the upcoming mayoral race. Now, that's tightening, too. It's not as commanding as it used to be. According to data released by the Manhattan Institute, Stefanik leads 43 to 42% among registered voters statewide. A statistical tie that nonetheless gives the Republican a narrow advantage. That's pretty amazing. The New York City mayoral race, Mondami drew 43%. 28 for Cuomo. 19 for Sliwa. Boy, oh boy. The hell's going to happen there? Anyway, with a sizable and divided anti-Mondami portion of the electorate, the Marxist assemblyman appears to have enough support. I'm not interested in their comments on him. I'm looking for Stefanik. Team Elise celebrated the findings in a statement yesterday, emphasizing Stefanik's unprecedented strength. And I think it is enormous strength, and she's the only Republican, I think, at least right now, who can win statewide in New York. The heavily Democrat-leaning state and independent poll that is heavily weighted towards registered Democrat voters shows Republican Elise Stefanik leading Democrat Governor Kathy in a head-to-head matchup, commented Team Elise spokeswoman Bernadette Breslin. This marks the first time in decades any potential Republican gubernatorial candidate, in this case the likely nominee, is polling ahead of a Democrat incumbent governor even before any official announcement. And Breslin added that Kathy in single-party Democrat rule have failed New York, and so forth. We know that. New York Republican Party Chairman Ed Cox called the results a bombshell poll, showing Elise Stefanik beating Kathy before Elise has even declared her candidacy. Under Kathy and one-party Democrat rule, New York has become the most taxed, most regulated, least free state in America. Oh, just wait. Mr. Affordability comes in. He's going to tax the hell, regulate the hell out of everybody. They're going to move as fast. Did you see already people are moving to Connecticut, Mr. Producer? They're going to Connecticut. They'll be coming to Florida. As long as they don't vote like liberal Democrats, that's fine. They do, go to Connecticut. Now, Stefanik has emerged as the leading voice in Congress on anti-Semitism. Uh-oh. Ooh. Don't tell Third Reich Bannon. And the fraud room. No. He won't like that. Don't tell Katarlson. Of course, the people he hates the most, he said, are the Christian Zionists. So, that might be Elise Stefanik. Don't tell little Adolf Fuentes, who believes in a pure white race, and yet he's got Mexican blood. So what's he going to do about that? Jump off the roof? No, I doubt it. Fuentes. Where's Owens these days? Busy checking the genitalia on the first family in France, Mr. Producer? I swear she had a you-know-what. This I'm for sure. I'm guarantee it. That makes for good podcasting, I think, don't you, Mr. Producer? Fantastic. What a bunch of freaks, frauds, and phonies. Donald Trump's going to run for a third term. We have a plan, says the fat moron on the fraud room. We have a plan, you know. Well, we have a constitution, fat boy. And under that constitution, nobody runs for a third term. I'm sorry. Maybe your friends in Gaza, they don't run at all. Or maybe your friends in Qatar, they don't run. Maybe your friends in Saudi Arabia, they don't run either. Maybe your friend Vlad Putin, he runs, but it's a joke. You know, all those regimes that you admire. Stefanik has emerged as a leading voice in Congress, taking on higher education and so forth. She's got a forthcoming book, Poisoned Ivies. I love this. The inside account of the academic and moral rot at America's elite universities. Poison ivy. I'm glad I coined that term, Mr. Producer. But that's a great name for her book. She's been a great leader on these things. She'd be a breath of fresh air in Albany, New York, I can tell you that. She'd be a breath of fresh air in any capital in any state. All right, I'll tell you what I think. I think down the road, she's actually presidential material, too. I think there's a lot of great presidential material in the Republican ranks. You got Cruz, you got DeSantis, you got Cotton, you got several of them. I can't remember everybody, but it's a big bench. The Democrats, they got nothing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, an unapologetic patriot, an unapologetic constitutionalist. You can reach him at 877-381-3811.
Yellow. You know, I forgot to mention JD, of course, Rubio. Here's the thing about Rubio. I can't get him on TV or radio. I guess, did I say something to offend him, Mr. Producer? I don't even want to ask anymore. Isn't that weird? Now he goes on the Constipated News Network, CNN. He goes on all these other weird shows that have no audiences and hostile hosts. It's very strange. Very strange. Now, he and JD are best friends. I know this because JD said it today. They're best friends. So it looks like he would run for president and Rubio for vice president. But, you know, you still have to go through a primary process. They may be the odds-on favorite. I think Tucker Carlson will play a big role in it. People are going to want to know what people think of him and the things he has said and the things he believes and what, if any, role, directly or indirectly, he would have. People want to know. I want to know. I think that's a fair question, but there'll be a lot of questions out there. And so Donald Trump is a one-off. There will never be another president like him, and there's never been a president like him. So he'll have a lot of influence in the Republican Party, which he essentially controls. But in order to win a general election, especially now, you have to unite. You have to unite disparate parts of the Republican Party as well as people outside the Republican Party. And that's going to be the task. Whether the president endorses somebody or not, that's what you have to overcome, or that's what you have to accomplish. I've been in enough of these to know that. I can tell you, if somebody doesn't want to talk to my audience, millions and millions of you, I don't know how I can get behind them, Mr. Producer. I've told that many times, have I not? Many times. You've got to respect the audience, like Rush said. You got to respect. We've got millions and millions, course of a week, tens of millions of people who come through this program. Mr. and Mrs. America, hard-working, tax-paying, patriotic Americans. You can't blow them off. You're not going to find them on CNN. You'll find some. Some. Conservative talk radio, well, at least the big shows and syndicated shows, have audiences bigger than cable TV. This program has audiences bigger than cable TV. It's just the way it is. A lot of politicians don't understand that. They want to see TV. It's okay. We're on TV too, but that's not my point. The left always wanted to copy conservative talk radio. They failed miserably. They've succeeded at podcasting because you don't really have ratings. You're just out there and you count hits and clicks and this and that and so forth and so on. So they have factions. They have niches that people play to. But when you're a politician, you need more than factions and niches. You need a massive number of people who are uniting behind you, maybe for even different reasons. And that's the skill that Donald Trump hasn't had and Ronald Reagan hasn't had and some others. And some others. And that's what it's going to take to get the nomination and to beat the Democrats. That's what it's going to take. They're not going to hand us this stuff. Look, it's not going to be Bernie Sanders or somebody like that. They'll figure something out. Maybe they'll hand one of the kooks the VP slot. I don't know. Maybe they will nominate a kook. Whatever they do, they do. But you have to have somebody who's going to be able to unite the different elements. We represent constitutional conservatives. That's what we represent. A rational foreign policy. A secure border. Assimilation. Low taxes. Low regulations. Limited central government. Capitalism. You know, stuff the country great. Okay. The show's almost over. I say it every year. Where the hell did it go so fast? Let's go to Morris in Minnesota on the Mark Levin app. Excuse me, it's Fred in Morris, Minnesota. Fred, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm calling about the government shutdown. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, I think you should start calling it the government shakedown because it seems like the Democrats are trying to shake down the Republicans to get the money they want for...
That's not a bad line. I like it. In fact, next time the speaker's with us, if there's still a government shakedown, I'll let them know. That's not bad. Fred, are you in marketing? What are you, Fred? What do you do?
I'm a teacher.
Well, you're probably a good teacher. It's good when you have a good teacher. It really does make a difference. All right, Fred. I like your idea, actually. Thank you so much. All right, God bless. Take care of yourself. Let's go to Mike, Tucson, Arizona, on the Mark Levin app. I love Tucson, Arizona, especially once a year. I can't get into it. I don't want to be harassed or harmed or whatever. But Tucson's a pretty cool city. Go right ahead, Mike.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
I just think that if the Republicans would take that opportunity to point out to the Democrats that all of these raises on the bill don't make any sense because we got ICE agents being harassed. And another thing, didn't the Democrats want to give amnesty to the illegals? Why won't the Republicans take that as an opportunity to say, you know what, our gates are closed, let's get them on the amnesty and throw it out at the Democrats and see what they say, because I bet you they'll go silent. They wouldn't be able to imagine.
I'm not sure what they would say. Right now, all we hear is they're human beings. Oh, yeah, there's like 7.5, 8 billion people in this world, on this planet. They're all human beings. What does that mean? You destroy your country, you destroy your economy? We can't handle it all. You can't have open borders in this massive welfare state, as Milton Friedman pointed out. All right, good call, Tucson. Mr. Producer, am I still allowed to mention Milton Friedman, or is he passé? I can mention him. Reagan's passé, I think. Buckley, Goldwater. Huh? Not New York City, no. But among our influencers, our geniuses, our felons, our anti-Semites, our isolationists, I don't think I'm allowed to mention these people. No. How about Adam Smith? No. Edmund Burke? No. Aristotle? No. Cicero? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's slip in another call here. Rob, San Jose, California, the great KSFO, go. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I've been meaning to call you and ask you sort of a Madisonian question. I mean, our constitutional republic, is it not, like, kind of built into, you can't get, like, these Mandanis and these social democrats or whatever they got, democratic socialists. They want to use an election to basically abolish private property. I mean, you can't do that. I don't care if it's 99-1. You can't do it. It couldn't be 100 to 0. It would have to be negotiated somewhere else.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me slow you down. You raise a very good point. What's interesting, when the Bill of Rights were adopted after the passage of the Constitution, they only applied to the new national or federal government. They didn't apply to the states. And over time, they have been applied to the states. Like private property rights, it's in the without a fair market compensation. It's called the Takings Clause. And so today that is applied to the states through the Bill of Rights via really the 14th Amendment, I suppose. They haven't really figured out. They call it the incorporation doctrine. But nonetheless, getting out of the weeds, I think you could make a good case. Now, here's the problem. We have Supreme Court cases where even if the property is regulated heavily, even if it's taxed heavily, even if it's taken as an easement, the localities and the states tend to win. They tend to win. So we have this provision in the Bill of Rights, the Takings Clause, and yet it is somewhat nebulous in its treatment by the Supreme Court. So it would depend how he goes about stealing one's private property. I agree with you that any of it should be unconstitutional. But if he goes the way of a true Marxist and just seizes the property and takes it, I don't think that will pass federal constitutional muster. I don't know what the New York Constitution says, quite frankly. But we're getting good calls tonight. Good job, Rob. It's a very good question, a very good point. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the program's coming to a close. I think I should try and slip in another caller here if I can get my email working, America. By the way, my son Chase was showing me this AI stuff. Mr. Producer, it's frightening. He said, like, ABC provided them with a photo, and then all of a sudden, he's in a John Wayne movie, he can move this, he can speak whatever he wants to say. So people can do that to each one of us. It's going to get harder and harder to distinguish between reality and fantasy, and people doing things to you and so forth and so on, that you have any control over. How do you control this? I understand we're in a race with the communist Chinese. I understand it is very important for science. I got all that. But, where there's an opportunity for evil, evil exists. And, by the way, it's not coming through. And somebody's already done that with us. They had to get a cease and desist notice from our friends at Fox, our lawyers there, where they were putting out stuff that I quit and I was crying on air. They actually put out a clip. I don't know, folks. To me, I don't know how you control this, but it's not all upside. I mean, I know we can't go back, But it's definitely not all upside, I can tell you that. But what he was showing me was unbelievable. All right, we're not going to get it. Give me a name and a city and so forth and so on if you can. Yeah. WGIG, Tim in Georgia, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Levin. I'll try to be
Mark
very
is
quick.
good. Thank you.
But since you brought that up about the AI, on YouTube there's a slew of broadcasts supposedly from the Reverend Dr. Billy Graham that aren't him. There's a whole bunch of them supposedly him speaking, and they're not him. And YouTube can take people off who say dead or rape, etc. They can censor that, but they can't censor all these fake broadcasts.
Well, how do they know they're even fake half the time?
Well,
that's the problem right there. I mean, this stuff looks real, really real.
There are pictures of him. It sounds like him almost, but it's not him. And these not his words. There's not his sermons. They've made this up. But let me get to the point when I want to call about is Curtis Sliwa. I was born in, even though I'm living down southeast Georgia, I was born in Manhattan, lived in Jersey. My family all lived in New York, Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn.
Got 10 seconds.
Kew Gardens, all that. I do not know why the conservative Republicans are not backing Curtis more.
Because they don't think he can win, that's why. If they thought he could win, they'd back him. I'm answering your question. You may not like the answer. That's why they're not backing him more.
Conservative,
I'm telling you why they're not backing him more. Whether you and I endorse him or not, that's why they're not backing him more. All right, we'll see what happens. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel, you, the American people, thank you, God bless you. But that's why they're not. Whether we or you like it or not, that's why they're not. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless. Same place, same time.